Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the Green Bay Packers. And you could pretty much copy paste everything what happened to Green Bay last year and put it into this year. But for Green Bay, this team was, they were good. But I always felt like they were a tier below the elite, like the Eagles and the Lions this year. For one, the Packers stunk in divisional play. They were a block kick away of going winless in the division. Who would ever thought to have a team in the playoffs and go winless in the division? That would have been crazy to think about. But they did win one against the Bears, got swept by the Vikings, got swept by the Lions. But Packers, they're gonna have to improve in that area if they want to be successful in the NFL. It doesn't matter what you do outside of your division. If you don't perform within it, it's gonna eat you alive. And looking at their schedule, yes, they improved from 10-7 to 11-6, but again, 5 of their losses, all in the division. The only team that beat them outside of their division was the Philadelphia Eagles, and you could say that twice because they lost to them in the postseason. But everywhere else, I could pretty much chalk it up to a pretty easy schedule because they took on the AFC South, and that is not hard to do, as they've been one of the worst divisions for the last 3 years. And like I said about the postseason, they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles uh, for the second time this year. In that game, if I remember, they had opportunities to take take back the game, but they got off to a slow special team start, and once they got in that hole, it just kind of overwhelmed them. Hopefully, the Packers this year could take that step and join the Eagles and the Lions as the elite of the elite. Hopefully, the schedule says otherwise, but let's take a look at that. Okay, Green Bay, let's take a look at your schedule, and we're going to start this. Whoa, the first two games, boom, boom. Lions and Commanders. One's like the Sunday afternoon game, the other is the Thursday night game. But given that Seattle has always, not Seattle, Green Bay has always tend to struggle against the Lions, especially when they're playing at home. I'm going to have to go with the Lions to win this one. Then week 2 against the Commanders. How about this? I got them 0-2 to start the season. But I do got them getting a win over Cleveland week 3. And then week 4, they're facing off a team that they own in the Dallas Cowboys, which I got them winning. And already an early bye week for them. That, for me, I am not a fan of teams that have early byes. Granted, the Philadelphia Eagles were able to take advantage of that, but still, it's not their video. But moving right along, we got the Cincinnati Bengals, week 6. And the Bengals, I don't know. Part of me want to believe in them, but part of me don't want to believe in them. But I'm going to go ahead and take Green Bay to win this one. Then week 7 against the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to take the Cardinals to win that one. But week 8, that's going to be the game everyone has now circled on their calendars. Aaron Rodgers versus the Green Bay Packers. At home, Sunday night. It's going to be rocking. But I got Green Bay winning on the road. I think Green Bay's going to have a pretty good road season this year. And I got them beating the Panthers week 9, heading back home. But week 10 and 11, I got them losing to the Eagles and for some reason the Giants. Which means they're going to only beat the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East. Because that's what always happens to them. Week 12, they got the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going to go ahead and give them a win here, because the Packers know they have to play better in the division if they want a chance. But week 13, we got a Thanksgiving game against the Lions. And this will be the Packers' 3rd year in a row playing on Thanksgiving. Can we just make them the 3rd team for Thanksgiving at this point? But anyway, since I already have them losing to the Lions week 1, I'm gonna give them the season split for this one. Now they got the team that they own, the Chicago Bears. And I think they're going to split the series this year. And that takes us to week 15. Denver Broncos, the Grossi Perna Bowl 2. And with this game being played in Denver, I'm going to go ahead and take the Broncos to win that one. Week 17 would be the Baltimore Ravens. I think the Ravens are going to be way too much for them to handle. And then week 18 against the Minnesota Vikings. And I might have to split that series up as well. So the Packers going to end the season on a 4-game losing streak. Got them going 8-9, which probably won't be enough for them to make the postseason. It happens, but I don't know, Green Bay. There's still some questions about this team that I have. But anyway, tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the Detroit Lions. And this is the best year Detroit has ever had. Only 2 regular season losses, both of those coming at home. They were undefeated on the road, swept the division, but by season's ends, cracks were beginning to show in that, and that was with the injuries. It was an issue that I feel like everyone overlooked, but it really showed in that playoff game, and where they were one and done. Now Ben Johnson is off to Chicago, and I'm actually kind of concerned for the Detroit Lions heading into 2025. I think they're still going to have a decent roster, decent team, but I feel like they kind of missed their window of opportunity to finally go to their first ever Super Bowl. I mean, they could get there in 2025, and honestly, it will be great because that'll be great for the nation, as everyone is tired of seeing the Chiefs, 49ers, and Eagles in the Super Bowl. And like I said, I ain't got much to say about the regular season. They only lost 2 games, but I am going to highlight a few games. Like the Week 6 game against the Dallas Cowboys, where they just mollywopped them in their own building. It was so bad the Cowboys didn't even show up that game, and I'm pretty much convinced that Dan Campbell wanted to run up the score, given what happened to them last year against this team. If you know, you know. Then other games I want to talk about, highlight for them. The Houston Texans game, that was a game where Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions and the team still won. The Tennessee Titan game, I remember Jared Goff had like 93 passing yards, but they still put up 50 points. That showed that this team could be good all around. And I almost want to talk about the loss against the Bills. Sure, they had a decent rally, but that's with that game where everyone's noticed that the injuries are popping up. And in the Week 18 Viking game, they only gave up 9 points to the Vikings. And another thing I failed to mention about losing Ben Johnson, the team lost Aaron Glenn too. He's with the New York Jets now. So, yeah, there's going to be some changes in Detroit on the coordinator standpoint. Hopefully the philosophy doesn't change. And like I said, they were the number 1 seed in the NFC, but they lost to the Commanders. Jared Goff was pretty much Jared Goof. Granted, he did get injured during that game. He had to leave a period, and it was just injuries. It was tough to overcome. They were wanting a promising season for Detroit came to an end, and everybody wanted them to go to the Super Bowl because I feel like Detroit was like the lovable loser going up. Everybody wants to see them do great, but unfortunately, things always find a way to get in the way, even on the best of their seasons. But anyway, can they get to the playoffs? Well, yes. But can they overcome the losses of Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn to their coaching staff? And also, can Detroit keep the philosophy that they had? Stay tuned to find out. Alrighty, Detroit. Let's take a look at your schedule. Week 1, you're playing in Lambeau against Green Bay. But one thing I've learned about Detroit is that they tend to have pretty great success whenever they go to Green Bay to play the Packers. And I think this year is going to be no different. I'm giving them a win there. Week 2 against the Bears. It's the Bears, and they still got to show me something for me to give them any hype. So I'm giving them a win there. Week 3 against the Ravens. That's going to be a very good Monday night game that week. And honestly, this one could go in any direction, but I'm going to go ahead and give this one to the Ravens for that reason alone. But for the but against the Cleveland Browns, I'm going to go ahead and give them a win over them. Week 5, we got a nice decent game against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's another one that's I think could be in any direction. Hopefully the Bengals can figure out their mess that they're in right now, and I could give them a win there. But don't get me wrong, that's probably going to be the shootout game of the week. Then speaking of possible shootouts, Week 6 against Kansas City. We all know a couple years ago, on Week 1, 2023, Detroit came in and beat the defending Super Bowl champions. This Week 6, I think it's going to be no different. And then we got a Week 7 game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's on Monday night, and at least this game's getting primetime love. And I'm going to go ahead and give this one the win. Detroit the win. Now they're after their bye week. They got the Vikings, who's coming off of a mini bye. I'm going to give them a win there. I have them beating the Commanders on the road, Week 10. Then Week 11 against the Eagles, which I think that game's on Sunday night. I have them losing that one. Then Week 12 against the Giants, I got them winning that. I have them losing on Thanksgiving to the Green Bay Packers, though. And then, which give them a back-to-back Thursday night game against the Dallas Cowboys, which, of course, given what they did to them last year, I don't think I could see a different result. Week 15 against the Rams. This one's another game that I think could go in any direction. Lions going to have a little bit more rest. That might come into play. And you know what? I'm going to give them the road win because of that. Who knows? The Lions could have possible injuries, but it could be enough for them to. They'll probably get some rest and get the win there. Week 16 against the Steelers. One thing I want to mention is that the last time they played, at least the Lions didn't lose. That game ended in a tie. And since this one is in Detroit, I'm going to give Detroit the win. Knowing my luck, the Steelers will probably find a way to BS their way through a victory in that one. Week 17, Minnesota Vikings. That's a Christmas Day game. And given that I'm not really that high on the Vikings. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the 2025 Chicago Bears. And I'm about just done giving the Bears any preseason hype. Every year it's like the same. Preseason hype, underwhelming the regular season, wash, rinse, repeat. And I think last year was no different. Caleb Williams, he actually had a bit of promise. And potential was flash. But Matt Eberflus couldn't manage a game clock if his life depended on it. And it cost him his job. I think everyone will say the same thing. I think their season turned on them when Jaden Daniels had that Hail Mary. And after that, it just snowballed into a season full of forget. But at least they beat the Green Bay Packers. Small victories, I guess. And looking at their schedule from last year, they started off the season very, very strong. A 4-2 start on the season, even including beating the Rams week 4. Kind of impressive. And they even went to Jacksonville in London. I remember that Carolina Panther game where DJ Moore exacted his revenge. But again, that Commander lost game. After they lost to them, it just trickled down. They lost to the Cardinals. They didn't score a touchdown against New England. Lost on a field goal block against Green Bay. Lost to the Vikings. And then that Detroit Lions Thanksgiving game. That was a game clock masterclass disaster. And that's when Matt Eberflus became the first Chicago Bears head coach to be fired before the season ended. I remember the 49er game, they only had like 13 total yards in the first half of that game. And in that Seattle Seahawks game, I want to talk about that one. That was a 6-3 snooze fest of a game. But again, it didn't end all bad. They did beat the Green Bay Packers, and they'll take that if anything, because the Packers have owned the Bears. But can the Bears finally live up to this year preseason hype, which they have, or will it be the same thing under new head coach Ben Johnson? Let's take a look. Okay, Bears, let's take a look at your schedule. And for some reason, you're starting your season off on Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think it's a bad choice. Caleb Williams versus J.J. McCarthy, two QBs from the class of 2024. That's a decent headline. And Monday night, I think the Bears are going to come up a little on fire for this one. I'm going to give them a win there. Week 2 against the Lions, I have them losing. Week 3 against the Cowboys, I have them losing at home to them, even though that game can go in any direction. And week 4, they have the Raiders. And I've kind of went back and forth with this one. But I'm going to go ahead and lean towards the Raiders because if I think it's a toss-up game, I'm just going to lean towards the home team. So the Bears are off to a 1-3 start. It'll be 1-4 when they play the Commanders. Week 6, Monday night. But week 7 against the Saints, that's an easy win. Week 8 against the Ravens, coming off a bye week Ravens, it's hard for me to go against that. Week 9 against the Bengals, that's hard for me to go up against that. Week 10 against the Giants, I have them winning there. Week 11, I have them splitting with the Minnesota Vikings. Week 12 is the Steelers. Normally, if it's just the Steelers, I probably would give the Bears win. However, this is Aaron Rodgers' Steelers. If you know anything about Aaron Rodgers, he has a stake in ownership over that franchise. So I'm going to give the Steelers the road win there. Week 13, they got the Eagles. That's a Black Friday game. And who else I'm going to choose? Philadelphia should win that one. Week 13, I have... Week 14 is the Packers. Packers coming off of a mini bye week. I got them winning that. Week 15 against the Browns. I'm going to go ahead and get the Bears to win there because the Browns have so many unknowns at quarterback, at least. Then I have them beating the Bears at home week 16. Week 17, I have them losing to the 49ers. And week 18, I have them beating the Detroit Lions because probably, like I said with the Detroit Lions earlier, they probably end up resting starters. So their record right now is at 6-11, which is a 1-win improvement from last year. But again, Bears fans, as much as they hype up their own team, they expect way better than this. So anyway, too much I think in the comments below what record you think the Chicago Bears is going to have. Thanks for watching. Gamble safely. I'll see you next time. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions with the Minnesota Skull Vikings. And the Vikings had a very surprising 2024 season where they went 14-3 under the reins of Sam Darnold and Brian Flores' defense. Now, we all know the Vikings weren't going to make it far in the playoffs, but 14-3 team for a team with unknown expectations, that's surprising. Now it's 2025. Sam Darnold is gone, and J.J. McCarthy is set to take over the quarterback reins as he missed all of his rookie season due to a knee injury. But he's going to bring the unknown. No one knows what he's going to do in 2025. Thus, this Viking prediction is going to be pretty much in a crossroads. Like I said, they went 14-3. And they only lost, in hindsight, they only lost to 2 teams this entire year. And that was to the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Rams. They lost to them in the postseason too. Ironically, they lost to both teams twice. But the Vikings, every other game, they went fine. And I don't even have much to say about how they did during those games. Let's just know that the defense was the defense. Sam Darnold didn't do enough to. Sam Darnold did not crap the bed for much. He should have won Comeback Player of the Year though. And in the division, and in the wild card round of the playoffs, they lost to the Rams. They were one and done, and it was pretty bad. It was kind of bad and sad to watch, but everyone was saying the same thing. We all know the Vikings weren't going to make it far. Had they, the biggest what if was, what if they would have beat the Detroit Lions and had that playoff bye? I think the results would have been the same. Again, Vikings, they had a lot of unknowns, and this year is no different of the Viking unknown. Wonder what this season will bring for them? Stay tuned to find out. Okay, Vikings, let's take a look at your schedule. Week 1, you're starting off on a Monday night game against the Bears, and in this game, it is going to be very, very tough for me to choose, but I end up choosing the Bears only because they're at home. Week 2 against the Falcons, though, I'm going to give them a win over the Atlanta Falcons. It's at home. Week 3 the against the Cincinnati Bengals. How about a stunning win over them? I think defensively they could counter Joe Burrow's high octane passing offense. And then week 4 against the Steelers, that game will be played in Ireland, if I'm correct. And I don't know. This was another. I'm not. Let's just know. Let's just say this. Don't expect a lot of points in this one, but I am gonna go with the Minnesota Vikings to win in Ireland. In week 5 against the Cleveland Browns, another game that I'm not expecting a lot of points in. I'm still going to give the Vikings the win. I think their roster is just a little better than the Cleveland Browns. But for the rest of their games, after the week 6 bye, I got them losing to the Eagles week 7, beating the Chargers on the road week 8 on Thursday Night Football, losing to the Lions week 9. Then it takes me right into the week 10 game against the Ravens. I think they could win that one. Again, their defense is going to be like the X factor for them this year. Week 11, I have them splitting with the Chicago Bears. I have the Green Bay Packers finally beating them week 12. Week 13, I have them losing on the road to the Seattle Seahawks. 14, I have them losing at home to the Washington Commanders. Week 15, I have them losing to the Dallas Cowboys, coming off a mini bye. And this game's going to be on Sunday night. Week 16, I have them beating the Giants on the road. Week 17, I have them getting swept by the Detroit Lions. But week 18, I got them winning against Green Bay, which puts their record at a pretty semi-respectable 9-8. Not a bad 9-8, but yes, sure. 14-3 downgrade before a J.J. McCarthy team. I think he'll take what he could get. So anyway, tell me what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Gamble safely, and I'll see you next time.